Meanwhile, gas prices are still on the rise. The average cost of a gallon of gas in the U.S. right now is around $3.25 compared to $2.85 a month ago. Here in Washington, take a look. It's higher, sitting at $4.43 a gallon compared to $3.95 a month ago. Those numbers are according to GasBuddy. Today, I spoke to an expert to gauge how much of the recent increase in prices is directly linked to the Iran war. We have GasBuddy's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan. Patrick, nice to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
I want to focus specifically on prices in Washington because, as you know, even before the strike in Iran, Washington was known to have some of the highest prices in the country. Now, one of the reasons could be, policy, something you've brought up, attributed to the state's gas tax. But I want to ask, when it comes to the latest recent surge in gas prices, is that all attributable to what's going on in Iran?
It really is. Seattle's average price up 10 cents a gallon, and actually, in an interesting twist, much of the West Coast is not yet seeing much of an impact compared to what we're seeing nationally. The national average up nearly 30 cents in the last week. Areas like Seattle, though, 10 cents. California only up 13 cents. Part of the reason why prices haven't gone up as much in the West Coast is because after some of the transition to summer gasoline started, there were some improvements in refinery runs, and that actually brought wholesale prices down low enough where some of the increase from Iran has now been offset, and that's keeping your prices a little bit lower in terms of reacting to Iran. But that may fade here in the days ahead. Oil prices today surpassing $80 a barrel, so I do now believe moving forward there may be additional upside in much of the West Coast.
Well, some might be asking, Patrick, so if the U.S. is the world's largest oil producer, why does the Iran war send it so much higher?
Well, oil is a true global market, and it's a buyer-seller market. Oil companies would likely sell to the highest bidder. If other countries now that are impacted more by the Strait of Hormuz, the de facto closure there, oil companies here can export their oil overseas. So it's a very connected economy. Oil companies are selling to the highest bidder, not the lowest. And now with those developments in the Middle East and a supply challenge that could be forthcoming, the price of oil has jumped, and all of us pay that market price for oil, whether in the United States or elsewhere across the globe.
Yeah, you just brought up the Strait of Hormuz, so obviously Iran has, shut that down, and that strait, of course, is between the Persian Gulf and it connects to the Indian Ocean. With that vital stretch closed so far, what do you think the Trump administration needs to do? How should they react at this point to that?
Well, the administration has hinted at potentially putting the military in the Strait of Hormuz, potentially escorts. That's really something that needs to be looked at, whether it's the military or something else. The issue right now is the lack of vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz because of the potential for drone attacks and other attacks that Iran could launch. And that is what's stopping all these ships in their tracks, is a lack of confidence amidst higher risk that something could happen. So something needs to address the security gap now, as Iran has potentially promised attacks. That is what needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously things are very volatile. We don't know how things are going to play out, of course, but what is your prediction in the next week or two, especially when it comes to gas prices here in Washington?
Well, things could get rather sticky. I think for Washington and Seattle, you may see prices eventually getting closer to the $5 a gallon mark. As I mentioned, oil today reaching $80 a barrel. There's more increases. Some of those have been softened for now, but I think moving forward, if oil prices continue to advance, the longer the Strait of Hormuz remains in a de facto closure, the more that could mean we could see average prices again exceeding the $5 a gallon mark. Now, I'd hope they'd be temporary, but I think the odds are increasing every day that the Strait of Hormuz is seeing this closure. We risk seeing $5 prices in Seattle.
All right, Patrick DeHaan, thank you so much from GasBuddy. We appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me.